Hey guys, Nick Kringas here, and today I have a little story for you about my dad and my upbringing and how that relates to something I'm going through now at our agency. So, growing up, I grew up in a town called Sleepy Hollow, New York, and in the town was a General Motors assembly plant. It was a huge assembly plant. They made cars of all types, Oldsmobile, Buicks, General Motors, GMC, and this assembly plant was there for years, and it would let out the entire plant 4 times a day around the clock. So at different times of the day and night, it would let out the entire workforce, and they would change shifts. So thousands of people would be let out, and another couple thousand people would come into work. And up the street from this assembly plant, my dad had a bar that he had taken over from his uncle, and that was in the family, even a generation beyond that. So it was in the family since just after Prohibition, so back in the early 1900s. But when I was growing up, my dad came to the country in 1968. I was born in 1979. So all I knew was that this bar would be open generally around the clock. It would open at 8 a.m. and it would close at 4 a.m. when we'd have to stop serving people alcohol. And then people would stay in there for another hour or so. So it would be open essentially 20 to 22 hours a day with someone always in there, people always in there, hanging out, drinking, having a good time. And then 4 times a day, as this assembly plant let out their workforce, we'd have a huge influx of customers that would be going home from work. They would come in, have a couple of drinks before they went home to their families. So at any given time, we'd have multiple bartenders around the clock. It didn't matter day or night. The place was booming for decades. We even had someone in there cashing checks. So if you had your paycheck, you'd come in and we cash your check for you, so you didn't have to go anywhere else. It was before the days of ATMs, and people drank a lot more. So we weren't even wearing seatbelts back then when I was a young kid in the early 80s. So it was certainly a different time. But like everything, nothing lasts forever. Things always change. I think change is the only constant, the only given. Could definitely count on change. So at first, people just started drinking less. There was more. Cops wouldn't allow it as much. If they pulled you over drinking and driving at one point, they would just kind of let you go. And they would just, either help you home, follow you home, but they weren't really giving tickets out until later. But then at one point, they started giving out DWIs, driving while intoxicated tickets. Thankfully, because I'm sure it saved a lot of lives, and that's a good thing. But for the business, there was less and less people drinking alcohol. Not really for the health effects, I don't think. Mostly just to avoid DWIs when I was young. And then eventually it changed to where now people are more health conscious and drinking less for that reason. But back then, they were drinking less because they were getting DWIs for the first time, and more. But then at one point, in the late 80s, early 90s, General Motors started cutting shifts from that assembly plant. I believe it was in the early 90s, like 1993, when I was just starting high school. So we certainly felt it. There was less people coming into the bar. So that shift, that change in our business, where we had less customers coming in on a daily basis, our revenues were slowly declining because of that. So my dad had to make a change, and for the first time ever, we started to sell food, and more people would come in there to eat and not just drink on their way home from work. So that was one adjustment we had to make. And then as more and more shifts were being cut, more and more people were being shipped off to different assembly plants around the country, we had to go more and more towards food and more towards a restaurant. So it eventually became a bar and grill, a bar and restaurant. And then finally in 1997, the assembly plant closed entirely. It was my first year going into college. It was right before I was going into Syracuse University. They decided to close the assembly plant for good. And, they didn't do anything with the property for 25 years, and now they're just building on it now. So it was vacant until until now. So for all that time, it really impacted the area. Um, Sort of like LeBron James leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers. They said when he left, a lot less people were going to games, going out, spending money. And it was like that, but worse because the whole town kind of relied on this assembly plant, this General Motors assembly plant. So we definitely felt it, and my dad adjusted to that by selling food and doing takeout and delivery and catering. So it certainly evolved from being a straight bar to being more of a bar and restaurant over time. And that kind of reminded me, I thought about that today, and it reminded me of what's happening in our agency right now. We have a digital marketing agency, I'm sure you know, if you've seen any of our videos. So now in the agency, like when we first started the agency back in the late 2013, early 2000, we were offering a free website audit video. So if anybody wanted to improve their online presence, not many people were offering this, especially to law firms. So they were, requesting these free website audit videos pretty regularly, and we were signing clients at a good clip. And so many people didn't know about the solution, SEO, digital marketing. We had to explain to them things like, what is a backlink? What is, how do you publish content on a page? Like, it was the very basics of the solution had to be explained. But now over time, people have started, they hear more and more about a free website audit video. More and more agencies are offering that. And this started happening gradually since 2014 and onward, where people are offering a free website audit video. So, and now there are more agencies than ever before, more SEOs, more digital marketers offering services and offering the same thing. So at first they got tired of hearing a free website audit video. It wasn't new, it wasn't interesting or attractive. So that got kind of stale. We had to adjust to that by, in our marketing and prospecting, we would just give little clips of things that we found on their website that could be improved for them to improve their online visibility. Now we're hearing that people get dozens and even hundreds of emails a day with saying the same exact thing. There are errors on your website. Let us fix them for you. Let's get on a call so I can show you what we found. So now that's getting old, and people have heard that before. And now we're at the point where I'm hearing a lot of people are unhappy with their SEO agencies, and they're unhappy with SEO, and they're starting to give up on SEO, search engine optimization as a whole, as a strategy. They still need it. They need people to find their website and to call them, but they're being jaded and they're starting to doubt that this will ever work for them. So we face a very uphill battle if we're saying the same things that we used to say, like we're going to rank your website on the first page of Google, you're going to get more traffic, more leads from your website. If we say SEO at all, people put this wall up, and they don't want to hear it. They've heard it before. Just last week, we're on the phone with a prospect, and he was an attorney, and he said, "Let me guess, you want to build more links to my website and publish high quality content." So he had heard it before. The market wants desperately now to hear something new. They don't want to hear SEO. They don't want to hear anything about SEO, about how to do it, or they know the solution. They've been jaded. They've had bad experiences in the past. So, and thankfully I have a plan to combat this, but the point is that the market is changing, and just like my dad at the restaurant, things always evolve, they always change, nothing lasts forever. So it's up to us to evolve now as well, and to, even if it's just a perceived change, there's no way, if we continue to just say, we're going to rank your site on the first page of Google, we're going to get more traffic to your website, these are the errors that we're going to fix to free it up and to start climbing the rankings. They've heard all of that before. That promise has been heard before, and they know the solution as well. They're tired of it. So it's up to us now to evolve and to start thinking of ways to position our solution differently than everyone else, and to come up with something that people haven't heard before. I only know of maybe one other agency that's starting to think like this and to starting to position their product as not SEO, as something else, but really in reality it is SEO. And this By the way, this happens in every industry. So once we start changing and start talking about something different or phrasing something different, people will eventually copy us. So I guess that's thankfully in the great game of business and high involvement planning and forward forecasting. We're always looking ahead. We're always looking around the corner with our team to see what is coming, what risks are ahead of us, what changes are happening in the marketplace, and how to get ahead of them. But it's a never-ending thing in business to stay ahead of these changes that are happening more and more rapidly. Yeah, just like my dad at the bar, we're going to have to evolve and change and offer something new. What about you? What are you seeing in your companies? Are you noticing the same thing? What kind of changes have you seen over the years in your agency or in your business? Let me know. Just remember, as always, people support what they help create. Thanks again for watching.